Yo, what is going on YouTube? This is your boy Dan, aka aDrive, but he has week 3 of the NPA, our team builder matchup for the New York Metapods taking on the New York Klinks. So we got a little showdown here between the New York Metapods and the Klinks, and it should be a pretty epic battle. The coach of the Klinks is Papa C, and he's 1-2 so far, so a bit of a rough start for him. We are 3-0 after a nice 6-0 Cresselia sweep, so I'm feeling pretty good after last week. If you missed the match, please go check it out. It's pretty short, so go watch it. It'll be really fun. You'll get to see Cresselia just put in the finest of work. It's absolutely ridiculous. But we're going to take out Papa C here. That's where my focus is, guys. And this guy won a championship in a different league, and he's a pretty good battler from my understanding. And his team is just... it's just ridiculous. I don't know what to say. His team is ridiculous. I have no idea why he was able to draft this team. I think it was because Hoopa Unbound was undervalued in the draft, and it was able to be picked up very, very late in the draft process when, in realistic, I think it's one of those Pokemon that a lot of people weren't familiar with, so they didn't know how it would perform. But realistically, Hoopa Unbound is absolutely insane. So, kind of looking through his team here really quick, he's got Manaphy, which is one of the best setup sweepers in the game. After a Tail Glow, pretty much one-shots everything in the world. He's got Blissey, and kind of I'll just tie the two together. Skarmory and Blissey are, the 5th gen or whatever, or 4th gen, I forget, but they're like the defensive core, right? So Skarm Bliss, this was, if you can't have Chansey, you run Skarm Bliss, and, these two are just insane together. Obviously, Blissey handles all the special hits, Skarmory handles all the physical hits, so it's kind of interesting that he's got such an impressive defensive core there, and obviously I showed how effective Chansey can be in the past, and Skarmory is obviously a great wall. Honchkro's there. I don't expect him to bring it, although it is a possibility. I just don't expect it. Him on top is relatively decent. Could set up throw some toxic people, get some rapid spin action. So again, I'm not too worried about him on top either. He does have Rotom Cut, and I think he might bring that, or Rotom Mow, however you want to call it. I do think he's going to bring the Rotom Mow. It is really his only response to my Thunderous, unless he thinks that Blissey can handle Thunderous, but we'll kind of talk about that in a minute. He's got the Tangela, which he has brought a few times this season. Tangela is relatively passive, despite the fact that it does have a pretty good special attack stat. It does rock that Eviolite, so getting rid of that Eviolite is huge, or just kind of getting some sort of residual damage on it, whether it be a toxic or a burn, really helps wear that thing down. Even though it does get Leech Seed, it does get sleep pattern stuff. It's not a huge threat from an offensive perspective, because it's really only big offensive move is going to be that Leaf Storm, although it does get utility with knockoff and stuff. I'm very familiar with Tangela though. He's got Mega Ampharos here, which is very interesting. Mega Ampharos can be kind of bulky, especially defensive set, or even physically defensive. Could be an assault vet, or I'm sorry, volt switching pivot. So it can do a lot of different things, so you kind of have to just keep an eye out for that. Hoopa Unbound is just a monster. He's probably either going to bring Scarfed or just Life Orb Wall Breaker. The Scarf set is probably they're kind of both threatening in different ways. If he doesn't bring Scarfed, I'll have an easier time getting rid of it. If he brings Scarf, then I'll be able to get rid of it, but I might lose a Pokemon in the process. I mean, either way, you can't really avoid it. I don't have a dedicated switch in a Hoopa. It's just insane, guys. If this thing gets sent in, it's gonna kill something pretty much every time. So I have a really rough matchup against this Hoopa, and I'm gonna have to try to play around that. He's got a Deontay, which is a possible bring. I'm not ruling out the potential of the regular Deontay, because it is a fairy type Pokemon that can beat Sableye, and it can also take hits from my Entei, so I wouldn't be surprised if he brought the Deontay, and then I'm thinking the Float Soul is probably relatively irrelevant. So if I had to just kind of make a guess here, Manaphy, Blissey, Skarmory, Ampharos, Hoopa, Deontay, maybe Rotom Cut thrown in there instead of Skarm Bliss or Ampharos. I think those are it, but Manaphy and Hoopa are most certainly, in my opinion, coming. I think Rotom Cut, Deontay are likely. I don't foresee the Tangela, because the Rotom Cut would be better. I don't really see the Hitmontop, because I don't think that would be that useful. Float Soul, I kind of see as useless as well. And then the Honchkrow is a maybe, but I think it's more towards the other Pokemon there. So that's his team. And just a reminder to you guys, a lot of you guys mentioned me putting the EV spreads on the screen, and I was going to do that, and I plan on doing that in the future. Just crunch for time this week, so I couldn't do the EV spreads. But let's jump into our team here, and the team I'm bringing to hopefully beat Papa C and the New York Klinks. So leading things off, as usual, I'll probably bring it to, pretty much every week, for the most part anyway, is Mega Sableye, of course. Pretty similar set to what we brought the first week. We've got Willow, Recover, Dark Pulse, Calm Mind. I would love to run Shadow Ball over Dark Pulse. It fits better, but he's got a Blissey. Can't do it. Even though Blissey cannot touch me, it's one of those things. So that's the beautiful thing about Mega Sableye, is once it Mega Evolves, it just straight up walls a very large portion of his team. It walls the Blissey. It walls the Skarmory. any of his bulky Pokemon, it walls 100%. Like, it's such a good Pokemon against this team. And if I could set up a few Calm Minds, I could take out that Manaphy. But the Manaphy is the thing that scares me, and so is the Hoopa. I mean, I guess I could beat the Hoopa with Sableye, but those are the things that scare me. The Manaphy and the Hoopa are just so offensively beast mode, and that Manaphy, if it gets a tail glow up, then Sableye is effectively not going to be very good. So that's our plan here in terms of EVs. I'm just rocking a max HP, max defense. Obviously, the Calm Minds will get our special defense up a little bit there, and hopefully we can set up a Calm Mind sweep. You know, I have a couple different options here, and you'll kind of see as the team build goes on. I'll kind of explain a little bit more. So our next Pokemon we're going to be bringing is making its debut. It is Arwen, the beautiful shiny Gardevoir, of course. Regular Gardevoir, not Mega Gardevoir, because I don't have Mega Gardevoir, but I do have regular Gardevoir. And this thing is going to be rocking a Choice Scarf with max speed. So this thing is going to speed tie with Hoopa if he brings max speed Choice Scarf Hoopa. If not, I outspeed it. But what's more important here is I have the potential to trick, you know, my Choice Scarf over to that Blissey, over to that Skarmory, something like that. He doesn't really have a lot of switch-ins to this Gardevoir, except for maybe the Blissey. So I'm thinking if I could trick, you know, his primary switch-ins to this thing are the Skarmory and the Blissey. So really easy opportunity for me to just trick one of those to my Scarf, really effectively cripple them for the remainder of the game, which is really, really nice. This thing's got Moonblast, Psyshock, Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt does a tremendous amount to Skarmory. Actually, could potentially OHKO it if he's like running the max HP, max defense set after like rocks. I gotta break the sturdy, obviously. Psyshock there is a decent amount to the Chansey, or I'm sorry, the Blissey. If he's not running bold, if he's running like specially defensive, which he might have to, I can do a decent amount to him with Psyshock there. Moonblast hits that Ampharos really well, even if he's bulky. I'm going to hit the Hitmontop and things like that. So the Thunderbolt obviously hits the Manaphy as well, and we have a good amount of natural special defense, and we are rocking that max speed there. So maybe we can trace something decent to maybe grab some abilities or whatever. But either way, I think this Gardevoir could put in some work, especially with that trick. Maybe pass off that Scarf, grab some lefties or something, or even Rocky Helmet from the Skarm. So a couple things to keep in mind there. I think that this Gardevoir could be really epic. The next Pokemon we're going to be bringing is going to be our Vesuvius here, or Entei, of course. Entei hasn't really put in too much work yet, but obviously it's a huge threat. The nice thing about this thing is it outspeeds pretty much everything on its team. I will outspeed max speed Rotom Mow if he's not scarfed. I outspeed the Hoopa. I outspeed everything. I just outspeed everything on his team. He does have a little bit of a slow team, except for the Manaphy. The Manaphy will outspeed me in the Floatzel, but I'm not worried about Floatzel. We've got Sacred Fire, Extreme Speed, Stone Edge, Iron Head. Iron Head I threw on there for the Deontay just in case, just to hit it super effective. Otherwise, Sacred Fire, Stone Edge, Extreme Speed are the top moves. That E-Speed could be very important when it comes to taking down that Hoopa, especially if he is scarfed. Particularly why I did not want to bring Choice Banded Entei. I went with Charcoal instead. Charcoal is going to boost up my Sacred Fire attack, where it's going to keep, you know, everything else about the same. So I lose a little bit of power here, but I gain the versatility of switching my moves up, being able to Extreme Speed if he expects me to be locked into a certain move or something. So we're running max attack, max speed again, so we can outspeed the Rotom Cut, and we are Adamant Nature, of course, to hit as hard as possible. So pretty simple there. The next Pokemon we're going to be bringing is our Flash Drive here, Thunderis. Very interesting set this week. We're actually bringing max attack, max speed, hasty nature. That will allow us to outspeed Manaphy and everything else on his team aside from Floatzel, obviously, and potential Choice Scarf users. Thunderbolt still destroys Skarmory, still destroys Honchkrow, still destroys Manaphy, even without special attack investment because of that Life Orb. And then I threw all the rest of my EVs into my physical attack instead of my special attack, which is kind of weird because Thunderis is so much better from the special side. But because he does have that Beast Mode Skarmory Blissey core, I figured, you know, it would make sense for me to just put a lot of investment into my attack. That way I can hit him with a T-Bolt on the switch or something, and then superpower Blissey's face it and get rid of that thing. I can also knock off, and U-turn is there too, which is really cool because it allows me to 1, keep momentum, 2, do a little bit more damage to the Ampharos, I believe, and most importantly, it actually OHKOs Hoopa, which Thunderbolt would not have done otherwise. So I could, if he's not scarfed, I could switch this thing in, U-turn out, kill the Hoopa, or gain momentum and have no issues there. So again, I'm running max speed, max attack with really no special attack investment, just the hasty nature to drop my defense and boost my speed. So we'll be able to kind of be as fast as possible there because we got to outpace that Manaphy by just a point. So the next Pokemon we're going to bring in is the Beast Mode Free Crest last week, putting in the fondest of work, picking up 6 kills, sweeping Blue and the Nidokings, and Cresselia is back again, once again, and this thing is an absolute monster. Rocking that max HP, max defense. We've got just a little bit of speed on there to potentially speed creep over the Rotom Cut if he goes defensive Rotom, because it's really his best response to Thunderis is defensive Rotom. So I I wanted to make sure I can creep up a little bit there. That's another reason why I brought U-turn too, to hit the Rotom a little bit better. But I know I could creep up on that. I gotta watch out for that burn on that Rotom too with Thunder, so I gotta be careful there. But this thing here sets up a substitute on so many things. Can Calm Mind, can set up Moonblast and Psyshocks, obviously, to hit the Blissey, so we're hitting that thing pretty hard. This thing can set up on a lot of things, especially some of his bulkier mons. I think Cresselia could put in a ton of work if I'm able to get that substitute up. Blissey cannot break my substitute with Seismitoss. That is super key, so keep that in mind. If I get this thing against Blissey, I get a free sub every time, and Blissey cannot do a single thing about it. There's not a thing that Blissey can do, as far as I know. There might be some sort of weird move he can pick, but as far as I know, Blissey can't do anything to me. Obviously, he could then bring in Skarmory and try to Whirlwind, but we'll have to play around it. I don't plan on setting up early. It's more of a mid to late game setup and sweep kind of type of deal. But that is going to be our crest. Like I said, it's just super physically bulky with a little bit of HP, or a lot of HP and just a tiny bit of speed, just to like I said, give us that one speed point over the Rotom cut. So last but not least, we are going to be bringing, of course, Crimson, our Scolipede here, running a different set from, well, still the offensive set, but just a little bit different this time. Rocking that Adamant, Speed Boost, Life Orb, just enough speed to make sure I'm outpacing Rotom cut at max speed, which means after a Protect, I will outspeed everything on his team aside from Scarf Manaphy and Scarf Floatzel. But Scarf Manaphy would be like a win for me, because that would be a poor decision in my opinion. Just because it's so good at setup sweeping. Mega Horn is really the move to click. It does. I mean, I could have ran Superpower for Blissey, but Mega Horn just hits everything on his team like incredibly hard, except for the Skarm, and I guess the Hitmontop, and I guess the Deontay really. But I've got Earthquake on there too, because it hits the Ampharos just a wee bit harder, and it's also going to hit like things like Deontay a little bit. But I got T-Spikes on there too. I thought that was kind of a cool little utility. Even though Scolipede is kind of a win con this game, kind of getting it in late game and just clicking Mega Horn a few times, hoping I don't miss. We've got the T-Spikes there if I decide to kind of switch on my game plan, throw those spikes on the field early. I know he does have a Rapid Spinner and Hitmontop, and he does have a Defogger and Skarm, but if I can get those Toxic Spikes up, that'll poison the Hitmon, it'll poison the Manaphy, it'll poison the Ampharos, and even if he has Rain Dance, it forces him to set up the Rain Dance. There's just a lot of potential of me getting those T-Spikes up. I think that a little bit of extra damage could really help, especially when it comes to trying to get Entei in later to click Extreme Speed and put some work in, because obviously Entei can body a tremendous amount of his team. Once I get that Manaphy worn down a little bit, keep it from setting up. I have a couple responses to set up Manaphy in Thunderous, but the biggest issue here with his team is really that Hoopa. I don't have a switch into Hoopa. If Hoopa comes in, something just dies, so it's just a matter of me kind of prioritizing. Sableye, Crest are going to be my two Pokemon that switch into Hoopa, because they're my two defensive mons, but realistically, none of them are going to do much. The good news is, though, Entei can beat Hoopa, you know, Thunderous can beat Hoopa, Gardevoir can beat Hoopa, and Scully can beat Hoopa, so my offensive mons can beat it. I just don't have a reliable defensive switch into it. So that's really my team, guys. I'm looking forward to this match. I think it's going to be a pretty good challenge here. You know, like I said, his team is insane. Like, definitely one of the harder teams I prepped for so far, but I think we could definitely pull out with a W here. We've got a lot of offensive power on our team, and I think that if I'm able to kind of make the plays early, kind of gain some momentum and kind of scout for what Hoopa he has, maybe you know, keep that Manaphy from setting up, we'll be in good shape. Again, I do have the responses to Manaphy. I just got to keep him from setting up. So that's going to be that for me, guys. I hope you guys did enjoy. Make sure you guys hit a like button if you haven't done so yet. Thank you again to everyone who picked up a New York Metapod shirt. By the way, they should be shipping out very, very soon, probably within a day or two of me posting this video. So definitely, thank you guys again for that. And the match will be up tomorrow, guys, so check that out as well. That's going to be it for me, guys. My name is Dan. I'm the coach of your New York Metapods, and I'm going to catch you guys later. Peace.